welcome back to the Domed In Pod. This one's going to be a little different. Syracuse is on a bye week, and as we all know, we're kind of struggling. We're out here just finishing the season. That's going to happen. That happens sometimes. You don't have any bowl contention. Season kind of ended up a little bit of a wash, and so we're going to move on here and talk about some national stuff. We're going to talk about some of the college football playoff rankings, how the ACC is shaping up right now, that kind of stuff. So do us a favor, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the rest of this episode.
You're watching Domed In Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe.
Here, I think we're both fired up about the playoff. I mean, our biggest problem in year one, which we talked about in the summer, was the idea that like the 4 conference champions had to be the 4 buys because that kind of sucked. And now this year, if you just look at how the bracket looks electric. I mean, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, all getting buys. I think at this point in the season, based on resumes, I think that probably makes sense. We'll get into how I feel about the Big Ten a little bit later. But I think resume-wise, those are probably what most people would agree are the top 4 teams.
Yeah, I don't know. My big takeaway here is look at these first round matchups too. Notre Dame at Oregon. I mean that would be an incredible football game, right? And I mean even Texas Ole Miss, Miami, Texas Tech. Like these games are being played on campus. Like these could shape up as incredible football games and incredible on-campus experiences. Like we've talked about it. We love the playoff. We love this expanded playoff. I know, right? There's going to be games that aren't that competitive, right? That's the nature of a wider playoff. But it's also going to give you some awesome moments. And I love that we do get this first round on campus, dude. And like these matchups, just like I'm excited for that first round already.
Totally. I love that call out. So let's start right there with the first round matchups. Let's start at the top left. And I've said this since the playoff has been around. There's going to be the biggest fight used to be like that 4-5 position in the previous era, like who's 4, who's 5. Right now, I think as we go forward, the biggest fight is going to be that 8-9 slot. Because think about this. Notre Dame traveling to Eugene, Oregon, or Oregon traveling to Notre Dame. That's a big travel spot.
Huge travel spot. I mean, like, I think if that game's in Notre Dame, right, there may be a 7-point favorite in that game, right? Like,
I think it's even money in Oregon, no?
Probably, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that dynamic of this first round being on campus. I'm going to beat the dead horse on that. Like it was incredible last year to see those games being played in home stadiums. And to your point, like that seed line 8-9 becomes the most important seed line in the playoff. Like
let's talk about that right there real quick. Like if we're looking at that Oregon versus Notre Dame schedule, like Oregon's schedule does not really have that many impressive wins on it. And everyone's talking about, Notre Dame, who have they beat? They've beaten up on a lot of BS teams, and that's probably true outside of USC. But who have they lost to? They lost to Texas A&M, number 3, and they lost to Miami, number 11 in the playoff. Miami was a road game, and Texas A&M was a home game. They lost both 1-possession games, right? With their quarterback, who was a freshman in his first 2 starts, going up against 2 of the top teams in the country. Right?
Yeah, I think what they lose by a combined 4 points in those games.
And exactly. And who's Oregon's big win against out of conference? Oklahoma State?
Right. I mean, even in conference, dude. I mean, what's their best win right
now? We have to look. Pull it up.
Penn
State? Yeah, at Penn State.
Like
who might not even be a bowl team?
Right. I mean, I would love Notre Dame in that game. It's probably that win against Iowa, right? Like they just beat Iowa on a last-second field goal, but
then again, this is where I get into my whole Big Ten take of the Big Ten. Is the Big Ten good? Who was Iowa beaten out of conference? Nobody. They actually lost to Iowa State, who's a mid-tier Big 12 team.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about getting robbed, right now I feel like the Big 12 is getting robbed. They should have more teams in this. Texas Tech should be a higher-ranked team, in my opinion. I don't think they're 6. I think they should be ahead of Georgia for sure. I think they're probably in that conversation with Alabama for that bye spot, in my opinion, just based on how tough the Big 12 is week to week. Um,
Yes, that's a good spot to stop. I think though, like, who do you like from the Big 12 that you think should be in? I mean, I think like obviously you're looking at BYU, Utah. Who's the team that you think deserves or is going to make the leap in? Like, I think Utah probably has the best shot to get in.
I kind of think BYU, but I'm worried this week. BYU's in a bad spot this week where
Yeah,
they're going up against a good team after losing a tough game to Texas Tech, where they didn't play very well. And that was one that we looked at when the books came out with that one. The odds makers came out with that one and hung 10.5 on Texas Tech. I said something funky's going on here.
yeah,
BYU is not a 10.5 dog versus Texas Tech, and the bookmakers, when they do stuff like that, like we've been at this a long enough time.
yeah.
We've been watching the games a long enough time to know when the odds makers hang something stupid like that, they're not stupid. So they're
They
doing it for a reason.
they were begging for BYU money, right? Like that's what that line is saying. It says, "Please bet BYU with this ridiculous number." And naturally, what it's 29-7, I think was the final in that game.
And it was
But
never competitive. It
but
was
I think
never competitive.
to your overall point, BYU's last couple games are tough. Like I think they're right. They're at home against TCU, who's good, right? Like TCU is a good football team, and BYU's played a lot of one possession games. And then I think they finish at Cincinnati,
They
which
go at Cincinnati and then UCF at home. So if they can get through to the UCF at home, I'll feel comfortable. But I'm with you, right? Like I want to say BYU deserves to be in here. Obviously, coming off of a loss, it's kind of hard to put them in over a Texas. But I have not been that impressed by Texas this year.
me either. I mean, honestly, I like Utah, Cincinnati even have been more impressive teams to me this year. I get that they're two lost teams. I honestly think Utah's got a pretty good shot. Their schedule is pretty favorable if you look at it to close out the year. Um, just had it up here. I'll pull it back up. But they
But
are at Baylor, home against Kansas State, and then at Kansas. Like those are teams that matchup wise, I think Utah matches up well with, right? Like their defense should hopefully be able to control some of those offenses, and then their offense is good enough to beat those bad defenses. So I'm looking schedule wise. I think Utah's got a pretty decent shot, but I'm with you. I don't really see why the Big 12 is being disrespected like this, dude.
so like the two biggest wins for Texas are really the Oklahoma win and the Vanderbilt win. They almost lost to Mississippi State. The one thing about Texas is because Texas has the schedule it does, that's going to play itself out. They play Georgia this week at Georgia, and then they play Texas A&M to end their season. If they win one of those two games, they're going to be locked into this playoff.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with
So,
you.
if they win at Georgia or if they come, at home versus, Texas A&M, last game of the season, Texas A&M's undefeated. If they win that game, they're 100% in my opinion. They could lose to Georgia, beat Arkansas, and if they beat that Texas A&M game, they're going to be in the playoff. So, Texas still has the work to be done to get in. But again, right now, if you were asking me, I do think BYU is more deserving. They have one loss, and it's against Texas Tech, who I also think is being shaded here, right? And like, I'm looking at this tab, and I'm saying I don't care what line you hang on the Miami Texas Tech game. I would be betting Texas State all day.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And like, I feel like Texas Tech's one loss is a not a bad loss. They lost at Arizona State in a one possession game. Like a lot of teams would lose that game. Honestly, most of the teams on this board would lose that game, like with the exception of maybe Ohio State and like maybe Notre Dame at this point. I'm not sure how many teams are going on the road with that game. You know,
Because that was the one game Arizona State had this year. Like
100% was
they
their
turns
Super Bowl.
out that they kind of fell off, and I think Dillingham's
Levin's
a
been
great
hurt.
coach. And if you watched him early in the season, he was telling you his team wasn't that good. He knew his team
Totally.
wasn't what they were last year, right? And he's telling you we're not that good. They go into that game, like you said, it's their Super Bowl.
Yeah. And it was a crazy environment. It was a night game, right? Like that was a game that was a schedule loss, you know.
Totally. And as we pull out, so Notre Dame, Oregon, I think at Oregon is equal. So we'll see. I just told you I like Texas Tech over Miami. The one that I'm really interested in is I would love to see Georgia, South Florida. I would love to see it because South Florida having to go into Georgia would be a tough spot for them. But the one thing about South Florida is they proved this early in the season playing against top level teams. They can score against SEC defenses, they can score against top level defenses. And Georgia this season has been chronically going behind in games. You know what I'm saying? They're always falling behind in games, and it's kind of just like a crazy comeback every single week for them, right? And that's going to be really hard if you give a team like South Florida a lead because Byron Brown is so dynamic at that quarterback position.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I don't know. I think like that's just like one of those games that's a levels game. I think. Do you remember when Miami played South Florida after South Florida just had that sneaky game against Florida and like Miami just steamrolled them and it was just hand off to Fletcher, pass to Tony. Like it was easy. I think Georgia would probably walk all over them, but that South Florida team is fun. I just that's a hard matchup for them. I think to have to
I'm
match up with like
I,
a team like Georgia. You know,
I just want to look that up because I'm pretty sure, and tell me if I'm wrong, but did South Florida not come off like 3 straight weeks? So they beat Boise to start the year, then they
yeah,
beat Florida, and then they went to Miami. It was their third of three very tough games to
yeah,
start the season. That's kind of also a scheduling spot for me. And Miami is one of those teams who they were much better in the beginning of the season, and they've actually fallen off because
yeah.
Cristobal is going to do Cristobal things at Miami, and that's the kind of game he pumps, and then he loses,
Oh yeah.
the one late in the season for no reason, kind of thing. So that's also to me like a Miami Cristobal thing, where like yeah, they had just pulled off two huge upsets. Miami was ready for them. Miami hadn't really played. They played Notre Dame week one, then they kind of had, I think, a lull in between, and they came back for South Florida, and it was like that's a tough spot. That's a tough spot for
Oh,
South Florida.
totally. I mean, that's totally a schedule loss for them. I mean, like that's a gauntlet to start the year. Like for them to end up 2-1 out of that 3 game stretch was pretty remarkable. You
Pretty
know,
remarkable.
uh, yeah. I mean, I like that team. I know we've been fans of them and how they play all year. That defense flies around, even though they do give up yards and points. They're a fun squad.
Are they a 2-score underdog at Georgia?
I think at least. I think it probably resembles a. I think it's probably about a 20-point line.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big one.
And if you give me that, I'm going to take South Florida
I probably
because they
do.
could backdoor that. And I really think like there's something about this Georgia team that they just get behind in games. Finally, we'd have Texas going to Ole Miss. I mean, Texas, like we said, this one's almost not even worth talking about because Texas has so much of their season left. But, Texas would be coming off of so many big games in a row. It's going to be hard for me to believe in Texas come the playoff because they're going to go to Georgia. Sure, they have the lull against Arkansas, but then having that final game against Texas A&M, I think everybody knows that's going to be their Super Bowl.
They're not. I mean, they're not winning that game though. They're just not. Texas A&M is a much better team than them.
I agree.
I just like. I don't believe in this Texas team. I don't. They're
I don't
talented.
either.
They've got a lot of talent. They're less than the sum of their parts. And we putting that even aside, I don't trust Sark this time of year anyway. Like
Right.
it comes playoff time, he is not really the guy you want on the sideline. Like he's gonna get you there. You know.
Okay, so I'm going to read out some teams. You're right. This is totally Sark. He puts you in these positions to always be around the
Yeah.
hoop, but he's never going to dunk it home.
Yeah.
Or at least he hasn't yet, so we'll see. Here's some of the teams behind Texas, and I would love your pick for who you think's going to make it. Oklahoma, BYU, Utah, Vandy, Georgia Tech, USC, Michigan, UVA, Louisville. Let's end it there.
It's tough because I'd like to look at the schedules. I know Vandy finishes at Tennessee, which is like just a brutal game for them to finish on.
They finish at Tennessee too.
Yeah, it's at Tennessee. It's a brutal game.
I think your call of Utah is pretty good because they go Baylor, Kansas State,
Yeah,
Kansas. It's not a tough schedule. To me, the one to watch the one to watch, and I don't know if I fully believe in them because I don't know if I believe in the head coach here, is Michigan.
Yeah, and Michigan's got the schedule, dude.
It's Northwestern, who they should pump, and then it's Maryland, who just fired their coach,
Yeah, and they should pump them.
and then it's Ohio State at home.
Yeah.
And we know Ohio State's had problems with Michigan, and if Michigan can pull a rabbit out of the hat, they're in.
The other thing
Even if
too, I
they
mean,
play it close, I
I was
think they
gonna
might be
say
in.
they don't have to win that game. I don't think if they play that game close against what is the number one team in the country right now, they're gonna be in.
With the brand
They're
they
gonna be in
are,
with 3 losses.
with the brand they are,
Yeah,
unless somebody like, Texas pulls off a big win, or, if BYU ends up as a one loss team, they might get in. But like
I guess
out
if Vandy pulled that off and they do run it out, like they
at
probably
Tennessee,
are
that's
in.
a big win.
Yeah,
Like, so barring any other teams having like a really big win and there's a lot of season left, like Michigan for me is one to keep my eye on. But I think that, that 10 spot is wide open. And then there's another crazy scenario that I think we wanted to talk about. Obviously, us Syracuse fans are interested in this. I'm not an ACC guy, despite the fact that we're in the ACC. Um,
yeah,
there's a
we're not
real chance.
ACC guys.
Yeah, we're not. There's a real chance that the ACC doesn't get a team in here, right? Like
That's what they deserve.
JMU and USF hop a couple spots, and USF plays Navy this week. That's a big game.
Yeah,
JMU could run the table and one or two more losses for these top ACC teams, and all of a sudden you're like looking around, being like, who's the guy?
totally. I mean, like it. I know JMU isn't on this list right now, but JMU is looming, right? Like, and if these ACC teams keep tumbling, it's going to be chaos, right? Like, I do think there's probably a couple teams there. Like, I do think Louisville's pretty good, and I believe their schedule is pretty favorable to ride this out. That they're probably
Let's
going to
see,
be ahead of a group of five team.
Louisville hosts Clemson. They
Yeah,
go to SMU, and then they host Kentucky. And those are good enough teams that they could, if they run the table, make it. But after losing to Cal at home last week in
yeah, that's
overtime,
tough, dude.
they
That's
they
tough.
that kind of killed them, in my opinion. Again, if they run the table, those are good enough teams that you look at and you're like, oh, that's okay. UVA, who I personally don't believe in, UVA finishes their season with um, Duke, who
Yeah,
could randomly sneak back into this ACC championship out of nowhere after losing to UConn last week. And then they play Virginia Tech, who, so UVA should go 2-0 to end the season, and
is Morris playing though?
maybe not, but they should still win those games even without him. And then
That's
the interesting one will be Georgia Tech, right? Because Georgia Tech goes to BC, which they should win. Then they have a tough matchup versus Pitt, and Pitt seems to play everybody here at the end of the season. I don't know how they have so many games left. They play Notre Dame, they play Georgia Tech, and I'm pretty sure they play Miami. And then Georgia Tech has their Georgia Tech game.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, if Georgia Tech wins versus BC, beats Pitt, and they're the one-loss team, and they just get absolutely smoked by Georgia, they're going to be in if they win the ACC.
You're right.
But what happens if they match up versus like a
Ooh,
Louisville, and Miami now, because Miami for some reason played their Super Bowl last week versus Syracuse. I don't know what the hell Cristobal was doing, but man, he was so mad about last year that he was playing his Super Bowl this week, and I think they are ripe to get picked off by NC State this week. Like, I am going to be all over that NC State line. I think it's gone up to almost 17 now. NC State plus 17, and like, you forget that Miami Syracuse game was 0-0 in the first half, and Syracuse couldn't move the ball on offense.
we had 20 yards.
20 yards, yeah.
Uh, it's crazy. I mean, they were not impressive. It's just Syracuse is pitiful at this point. So, like, it just is what it is. But, I mean, yeah, dude, the game that we did just touch on that is actually a huge game in the ACC is UVA at Duke this week. That is
Mhm.
a huge game. That is two one-loss teams. It's basically like it makes it tough for either team to kind of scrap back in. I think if you get back to 2 losses, I guess they are still competitive, but definitely puts the other squad with a leg up there because Duke doesn't have, or which team? Duke lost to NC State. Who lost to
No,
NC State? UVA
UVA.
lost.
UVA lost to
It
NC
gets us all
State, which
twisted around in
didn't
the
count.
non-conference game. That's what it is. So that's why UVA has one conference loss.
The stupidest thing in college football. That is the stupidest thing in college
Yeah, it's
football.
ridiculous. And so that's why they have one conference loss, but they're a 4-point dog at Duke this week.
Right.
So
And I think
like,
Duke's live. I think Duke's going to win that game,
Duke's
personally.
very live to win that game. I agree. And so if Duke wins that game, then it's chaos because the absolute nightmare, the nightmare scenario is Duke winning the league because Duke is not getting in.
No.
Right.
Not with losses to UConn and getting blown out by
They're
Illinois.
5-4.
Yeah.
Like, and so the ACC needs to pray that basically it's not Duke or SMU.
They need Miami to not fall down on their face, and they need Georgia Tech to just win their last 2 ACC games. Then it doesn't matter, because if it's Miami Georgia Tech, then it doesn't matter who wins that game. The winner of that will make the playoff from the ACC.
100%.
So, I mean, there's these are the fun kind of things. Like this is personally what I love, and I always people were like, oh, now that we have 12 teams, we'll really find out if the best team's gonna win. And the arguments will go away. No. The arguments are just expanding, dude. Like we're having all kinds of arguments. You can make an argument about 8, 9. We could talk about Texas being in here. We're talking about, does the ACC even deserve a team? I mean, this is crazy, man.
I mean, nightmare for Ohio State has to be Notre Dame winning that game, right? If that 8-9 game, like that is awful for Ohio State. Like that might be the second best team. Notre Dame.
In my opinion, the awful scenario for Ohio State would be if Michigan is a dud. If Michigan somehow loses one of these next 2 games they have to Northwestern or Maryland, and then that team just comes out and has no heart, and just Ohio State's able to just destroy them in the Michigan-Ohio State game, and Ohio State hasn't played anybody since they played Texas week 1, that to me is the killer, because then they're going to be sitting there for a week, and then it doesn't really matter which team comes. If it's Oregon or Notre Dame, it's going to be a battle-tested team who's hungry, similar to what Ohio State did last year, where they came in as the battle-tested, hungry team. They got the home win versus Tennessee, and they were just rolling from there.
I don't know. I really like this Notre Dame team. I think to your point, there's a lot to be said about a team that's basically been in sudden death, do or die for 2.5 months already, right? Like they lost those first 2 games. Like their season has been on the line since that Texas A&M game,
And I think we're both CJ Carr guys, right?
We are. He's clearly he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And that defense is starting to get better. They can run the ball. They're a really good team. And Marcus Freeman, his teams they peak this time of year,
They peak this time of year. 100%. That's a great way to put it. They peak this time of year. I mean, I think that's like a pretty good roundup of what we're seeing. I'd like to end with one segment here, and that's just going to be me ranting. So strap in. My rant for this is going to be, is the Big Ten any good? Are they? I'm not sure. So the Big Ten has beaten themselves. That's the biggest win for Indiana is Iowa. The biggest win for Oregon is Iowa. Iowa lost to Iowa State. Indiana beat nobody out of conference. Ohio State, the one big win they have is Ohio State beat Texas, who we're not even sure if Texas is good, and they beat them by a touchdown at home in week 1. It was not an impressive game from either side, to be honest. People were talking a lot about Arch Manning, and getting lost in the Arch Manning talk was the fact that Ohio State only scored 14 points.
Exactly.
And Arch Manning missed a couple of goal-to-go situations that, had they had, that would have been a tie game, maybe even a Texas win. And without that win, what does Ohio State really have, right? Now we look a little bit further down the way, right? Because let's look at some of these other teams in the Big Ten. Let's look at USC. Who's USC beaten out of conference? Nobody, right? All their wins are in conference wins. The only out of conference team that played that was any good was Notre Dame. They got smoked by Notre Dame. Then let's go to Michigan. Who's Michigan played out of conference? They played a good Oklahoma team. Oklahoma is just outside this playoff, right? But they're just outside. They lost to Texas, and they beat Michigan pretty handily in a game that, despite the fact that it was 11 points, never really at any point felt close, right? Let's go down a little bit. Iowa. Iowa's your next team. Iowa has beaten nobody out of conference. They lost to Iowa State, who's a mid Big 12 team. They're not even in the top 25. So I just named every single Big 10 team that is in the top 25.
Yeah. It's underwhelming. It's
Their
100%
out of conference
underwhelming.
schedule is a joke. It is a joke, and it's kind of, in my opinion, they're a little bit making a mockery of college football. The way that some of these teams are scheduling, like Indiana getting rid of UVA on their schedule. Like, you're Indiana, you can't play UVA.
Right. Anybody.
And so my answer to the rant is yes, there's one good team in the Big Ten, and it is Ohio State. I know they don't really have a great win to look at, and I know that win versus Texas, I'm like, is a lukewarm win to me, but I've seen a lot from Sayan. I really like Sayan. I'm a huge CJ Carr guy, number one, and then Sayan to me is like kind of a little bit below him right now. I'd like to see more from him because, again, they haven't played anybody, and he's got two of the best receivers in the country. But I legitimately think on the defensive side of the ball, it's one of the most talented teams in the country. And then they have the best receiving core. They have two of the top 5 receivers in the country in Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate. And then they're always loaded at running back. They got a stable of guys there that are all solid. So my answer to the question is yes, I think there's one good team out of the Big Ten. It's Ohio State. And then there's one unknown, and that's Indiana. And we don't know how good Indiana is.
I do think Indiana's good, but I'm with you. Like, aside from those two, I don't think anybody else is good. I really
What
don't.
do you think of Mendoza?
I am way lower on Mendoza than what the consensus is. I think he's a good college quarterback, but he's not more than that. I think taking him top 3 in the draft is crazy to me.
Yeah, I've been hearing him as the number 1 pick, and I don't understand that.
I'd love to go back and see the same people that didn't love Drake May that love Mendoza, because I don't understand that at all. Like, May is better at everything he does. Like, they're the same sort of skill set. May is just a way better version, and wasn't.
We didn't have the podcast when he was in college. He was our like favorite NFL prospect in college from his freshman year, Drake May. Yeah. He was an unbelievable. I couldn't believe. No offense to Jaden Daniels, no offense to Caleb Williams. I could not believe that Drake May did not go number 1 in that draft.
Yeah, like, we were all over that, and so, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not a huge Mendoza guy. I think he's good, and that system is there. They don't make the quarterbacks do crazy stuff there. Honestly, like, it's a pretty well scripted system. Yeah, I think the jury's a little bit out on them, but I think they're one of the only teams that takes care of business, pretty much every week. And yeah, that Penn State game was a little tricky, but that, no matter what Penn State has been this year, you go to Happy Valley and, like, it's not going to be a super fun game, right? Like,
I don't harbor a lot of, like, downward feelings to them because they won a close game at Penn State. I'm with you. It's Penn State. It's a tough game. Even if Penn State's not good, it's a tough game. You know what I'm saying? And you have to go in there and win it. And they went in there and won it. And credit to them for going in there and winning the game, right? That, like, I hate when people are like, oh, that's not a good win. It's still a win.
Miami, Cristobal loses that game, right?
100%.
Miami always loses that game. They always lose it.
The other thing is, who wasn't there for that game for them? Elijah Surratt, the receiver. Yeah. He's really good. He's underrated. Awesome. And without him, that dynamic of that team changes a little bit because they don't have the same weapons on the outside that some of these other programs that are as elevated them have, right? Like, if Alabama loses Ryan Williams, they have Jeremy Bernard. If A&M loses Concepcion, they got like 4 other guys who are all sick. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And Indiana doesn't quite have that same level of talent. And that is the one thing that worries me. If that kid's healthy, they look really good. When without him, they didn't look great. And the defense is okay. It stands up at times, but it's not Ohio State's defense. It's not Texas A&M's defense, in my opinion. I don't even think it's equivalent to like Georgia, Notre Dame type defenses. And then I don't think they're nearly as explosive as like a Texas Tech team. So for me, I would personally have this right now as Ohio State number 1, Texas A&M number 2. I would have Texas Tech as number 3. I would have Indiana number 4. I would have Alabama number 5, and then I would probably go. I I, I toss this back and forth, but I kind of feel like I would go Georgia at 6 just because they beat Ole Miss, and then everything else Ole Miss through the rest of it. I would have the same, maybe flip flop Notre Dame and Oregon, but a lot of season left to be played.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, it is crazy to me that Texas A&M is not the number 2 team. Do you
Almost they
agree
should
with
be the number 1 team, in my opinion.
like I don't necessarily disagree with you. Like their wins and the way they've beaten teams, uh, has anybody been more impressive than them?
What's the most impressive win this year? All year. What's the most impressive win for you?
I mean, it's probably them winning at Notre Dame.
Agreed.
Like
100% agreed. I think that's the nailed on best win of the year for me.
the only other one, in my opinion, that's even really close would probably be Indiana at Oregon
That's a good one. That's a really good win.
because they dominated that game. The final score doesn't really show that, but they went in and they were the better team wire to wire. Like
Number 3 win for me is actually Georgia at Ole Miss. Because that was that at Ole Miss or was that in Georgia? Let's look that up. Because that was a good one to me. Because I think both of those teams are legitimately very good. I think both of those teams deserve to be in the
I
playoff.
mean, yeah, that Tennessee, the Georgia winning at
No, that was
Tennessee,
home. That was home versus Ole Miss, but that was an absolute shootout in that game.
and the Georgia winning at Tennessee was. I know Tennessee. What they have 3 losses. Tennessee's a pretty good team,
They're
and
a top 25 team, right?
they played well that day. Like Tennessee should have won that game, and Georgia just pulled it out. Like they won the game, right?
I mean, yeah, I think Tennessee's definitely a top 25 team. So I think that's a great win. Going into any top 25 team, in my opinion, is a great win. Um, that's pretty much, I think, a nice roundup of where we're at for the college football playoff. So we'll stop this here, and then we'll just do a few minutes on Syracuse here to end. And stick with us. All right, last segment here, talking some Syracuse. Tough loss to Miami. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the national more roundup. For some reason, that was Miami's Super Bowl last week. Mario Cristobal was, you know, he was mad. He was mad about losing last year.
I didn't realize this. I didn't realize they harbored that much animosity when we just took their lunch money in the dome last year. But good lord,
I get it, but goddamn, dude, you guys are thinking way too hard about us.
that's a salty fan base, dude. That anger's misguided. That is
It
misguided anger.
it really is because I don't think they could be mad at Cristobal so far this year. But they the funny thing about that game is them losing the week before to SMU and looking terrible, and then showing up for that Syracuse game and acting like your Super Bowl.
And kind of no showing the first half, like
Crazy though, like crazy, and then they're running all kinds of stupid trick plays just to stick it in our face. Which credit to them. I do give them credit for running some stupid trick plays to make us feel bad about ourselves.
I
That's
mean,
fine.
it's been documented. Everything works on us,
The fakes run to the lineman screen or whatever they ran, like that shit was always going to work on us.
every time.
Thoughts from that game is our defense played really well, and maybe the best news that we could have ever hoped for coming out of this whole thing is Demetrius Samuel committing to the program and wanting to stay. He is
Great.
he is everything we could have hoped he would be in year one. He is an elite cornerback, and it's just great that he's going to stay. There's a really high ceiling with that kid, and there's always certain guys that I love to hear call a game, and I always feel like certain guys know positions really well. And Louis Riddick is one of my favorite people to listen to call a game. And when he talks about a defensive back, like I am glued to listening to him talk about defensive back play. And he has talked about how good Samuel is and how much better he's gotten since week one. So I always find that interesting. And if Lewis is a believer in him, then I'm a believer in him.
Yeah, agreed. That's the best news of the last month of Syracuse football is that Demetrius is locked in to the program next year. It's kind of been the same story the last month and a half. the defense has honestly had performances that have been good enough to be competitive and win, like winnable performances, right? Like, and again, we just got nothing from the offense. It's not even worth us just harping on the quarterback play anymore. We threw for 20 yards in the first half, right? Like,
Whatever. Our defense held them to almost a shutout in the first
right.
half. It was
Like,
nice.
it's not easy for this team to keep showing up. Like, Fran was feisty. He got the boys at least tried to get him ready to play. It's just like
Credit to Fran. He did everything he could in that game.
exactly. We're inept on offense, and it's not getting better. We've talked about it at length. There's no reason to just beat the dead horse. It's not going to look better until next season.
No, but you know what I will take away? Let's try to be positive and find the silver linings. Like the defense has gotten better. The
It
defense has
has.
gotten better. He's addressed a lot of the things I was concerned about on the defensive side of the ball. They've really started to turn a corner. Often they'll get to, about halfway to almost all the way through the second quarter, and they'll be holding the other team down, and then they'll just start getting gashed because there's no hope. They're on the field all game, and that's just not on them. It's just not on them. And so the defense being fixed, I give Fran a lot of credit for because it's something I really wanted him to do coming into the season, and I give him a lot of credit for doing it. I mean,
I
next year
agree.
with Angeli, we got it. Samuel coming back. We can hopefully bring a lot of guys back next year. Like that's going to be the key right now. Is can we re-recruit guys to come back to the program? We're bringing in another good class of kids in terms of freshman recruits, which is a video we'll do once National Signing Day happens because we're not going to come in here and know everything about these recruits. So we're going to wait for it all to play out and then come back and give it to you.
Yeah.
But essentially, the program is on the up. I know it doesn't look like it. This is a step back this year, but there are things to take away that are positive. And the idea that Steve's coming back and he's coming back to hopefully a better defense with a lot of still big time playmakers around him. Yazin coming back. A lot of the receivers coming back. Like it's just exciting. It's just very, very exciting for what we could be.
I couldn't agree more, dude. The program is still. I would still say we're on track, right? Like, do you like? I think that's
Agreed.
kind of the position I want to take with the fan base right now. Is we are still on track. Like, we got ahead of schedule, and now we kind of need to just realize we're a little ahead of the skis right now, and the talent level's still improving. We're still going to have a lot of big name like Calvin Russell's coming in next year, right? And I think uh, there was an On3 clip that went out this week. Like Miami's trying. He is going to Syracuse. He's going to Syracuse. Like we have a 5-star receiver coming in next year. We hopefully will have Jonte back. Some of the other guys, like we'll have Steve back.
Daryl Gill.
Like I don't know. There's a lot to be excited about, and I do think there is something to be said. Like you're not seeing a ton of dissenting guys on social media spouting off about the program. We've cleaned up a lot of that stuff. Like, look, it's unfortunate. It just is what it is. But we still got to be hopeful for what's coming up. And like, yeah, signing day will be an exciting time for us. I think we're all excited to turn the page a little bit.
And then what do you think about? Oh, go ahead.
I had one random thing, and I'll take us off topic for a second. Have you seen the clip from Coach Jack, the women's basketball coach, talking about Jonte playing a big role in bringing one of her players to campus?
No, I haven't seen that. Love to hear that though. Good for
There's a
Jonte.
clip. We'll put it out or we'll react to it. But there's a clip out there from her press conference last night about she specifically names him by name, like, and says that he knew. I think they grew up. He knew the girl from growing up in Texas, and basically was a big selling point in her coming to Syracuse. And the women's basketball team much improved this year, by the way. That's
Let's
really
go
awesome.
Orange women.
That is honestly like just hearing that and not having it come out of the football program, right? Like,
Cool.
shows there is buy-in and culture being built here, right? And I know it's not. We haven't seen it on the field the last month and a half, but
Well, just to interrupt you there, I don't know that we would say that from a culture standpoint, we haven't seen it because I
that's
haven't seen
true.
anybody give up. We're hopeless, but nobody's given up.
I agree with you. That's actually
Willis
a
is
really good
still
call.
running hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yeah,
not like he's out here being like, oh, I'm not even going to give it any effort because we suck. No, that kid's running hard.
totally. I
He
agree
gives
with
a
you.
fuck. And you love to see that, like even Ricky, like, when Filardi came in, Ricky was on the sideline helping him out, cheering him on. Like this isn't a program where guys are are checked out and they're not
No.
trying hard. Our defense is locked in for as long as they can be in games until they get their backs broken because our offense just can't quite do it. Our offensive line isn't just like not blocking guys. They're trying. They're going out there and trying. The receivers are still putting their body on the line. The quarterbacks are trying. They're just they're not quite good enough at the moment.
Exactly. I don't think like we are. We've looked a little pitiful, but we haven't given up, and we're not
Yeah.
quitting. You
And that's
know, like, and
nice.
it just is what it is. Like the product is bad. We know the product's bad, right? We know it's bad, but they're showing up for Fran, and Fran is trying to bring energy every week. And look, you can see this season is wearing on him, right? Like this is not what he wants, and
This guy hates to lose.
he hates it. He hates it. We all hate it. Like I still think we're on track. It's going to be a big off season, right? Big off season. Next year's a big year, right?
Steve's
But
got to get healthy.
Steve's got to get healthy.
How many games do we win if Steve's quarterback? Let's go through the schedule real quick. We're going to do a hypothetical because I like these hypotheticals.
We don't have the ACC schedule yet, I don't believe, do we?
No, I'm saying for this year. If we have Steve this year, if he doesn't get hurt.
I think we're probably
we
a
play
7-win
Duke.
team.
We play Duke. I think we're in that game. I think that game's a coin toss against Duke. SMU, I think we win the SMU game.
There's like a couple of these games that I think
Pitt. I think we beat Pitt. I think we totally would have beat Pitt with
Pitt's
him.
a game I think we definitely win with Steve. We were in the building that day. We win that game with Steve. SMU maybe is a little bit different just because it could be a shootout. Like who knows? You know?
No, but we were up in that game, and if we could have taken advantage of some of the early opportunities, we could have had a big lead in that game.
We could have, but I don't.
And their defense is bad, dude. That SMU defense is not good.
It's not good.
Georgia Tech, I think we probably would have lost that game, but it would have been close because again, that defense cannot control a pass game.
No.
North Carolina, I think we obviously win if we're there. And then Miami, I think, again, we probably lose, but like I can make a case for it. It was 0-0 for a long time against Miami.
A ball game.
So like a lot of these games, even if we don't win them, we're in them with Steve.
That's puts you at like 7-8 wins, you know, like
which would have been a great year.
It would have been a great year, and we'd still all be saying, "Wow, holy shit, we're ahead of schedule," you know. But it's just, you know, it's unfortunate. But yeah, man, I think that's where the program is. Like, this is where the program is, and we just got to be honest about it. And I'm still excited. Like, I think there's still a lot to be excited about on the football side. We
got to get through the end of this year.
Get there right now.
We just got to get through the end of this year. We just got to get through it.
Exactly. And we got basketball right now to help smooth that out for us, you know? Like,
thank you, Cayenne.
Exactly.
Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Sadiq. Come on back, JJ. We miss you, buddy.
Right, exactly.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Again, if you're not liking and subscribing, please do so. We love building this community for Orange fans. If you're not an Orange fan and you're here for the college football playoff and you like some of the content, let us know. We're definitely gonna in the off season potentially branch out a little bit onto some content. So we're always gonna be here for the Syracuse community, and we're gonna try to stay positive because we want to be positive fans, right?
Right. I think we're gonna be fair. We're going to be fair, and we're not going to, like, we've said it before, we are not going to root for these teams to lose.
We're going to root for them to win. We're going to be overly positive if we have to be. Yeah. And like you said, we will be fair when comes time to critique people too. And I think we've done that with Fran. And I think we've tried to straddle a nice message on Fran this year of, hey, we still believe in this guy long term. There are some questions about how this season was managed, and we've dove into those. We'll continue to dive into them in the offseason. But at the end of the day, TLDR, we believe in Fran. There's a lot of excitement coming for this Syracuse program. Let's get through the end of this season. Let's get to recruiting. Let's get to signing day, and let's look forward to next season. Let's keep building.
Exactly. It's like we're learning nothing else more from this season. You know, there's nothing else to be learned from this year, you know? And so, like, it is what it is.